Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I'm part of the team at Lake Institute on Faith and Giving, and I'm here today to introduce you to a framework for conversation and reflection on the purposes of giving, called the 4 Traditions of Philanthropy. The first tradition of philanthropy is the tradition of relief. This tradition is animated by a compassionate response to suffering in the world. It seeks to alleviate that suffering in some immediate way, perhaps by feeding somebody, giving them the proverbial fish. Examples include providing immediate shelter, clothing, food, or sending relief funds. This is such an important tradition of giving. Imagine a world without it. And yet, the relief tradition does have its limitations. As the old saying goes, feed someone a fish, you feed them for a day. Teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. The second tradition of philanthropy is the tradition of improvement. The improvement tradition focuses on helping people move forward in life. It is animated by a belief in progress and human potential, and a desire to help others realize their own potential. Often a gift in the improvement tradition will go to some kind of educational program, tutoring, job skill training, funding scholarships. Often, too, we are giving something that we ourselves received, something that we want others to benefit from as well. Examples of the improvement tradition are all around us. They're just essential to American giving. But this tradition has its weaknesses as well. You may have helped teach someone to fish, but if entire groups of people are denied access to the pond or other resources by virtue of their race, ethnicity, gender, geographic location, socioeconomic status, or other characteristics, the improvement tradition isn't going to be all that helpful. The third tradition is the tradition of reform. Giving in the reform tradition is animated by the principle of justice, and it seeks to provide access and equity for all. Examples include the civil rights movement of the 20th century, the fight for marriage equality, and other efforts to secure the rights of whole groups of people through changes to social policy. You might say it's advocating for access to the pond. But this tradition too has its limitations. Taking it back to our pond, before you began advocating, did you ever ask the people you're trying to help if they even eat fish? Or perhaps they know something about fishing that you don't. The fourth tradition of engagement focuses on working with rather than for others. It is animated by the principle of participation. It looks for ways to empower people to contribute their own wisdom and find their own solutions. Examples of the engagement tradition include the settlement house movement of the 19th century, or the participatory grant-making movement of today that seeks to expand and extend grant-making decisions to those that the foundation is actually trying to help, rather than making those decisions for them. So these are the 4 traditions of philanthropy: relief, improvement, reform, and engagement. But recently, people who have engaged with the 4 traditions of philanthropy have begun to ask, isn't there a 5th tradition? What about the tradition of repair? The tradition of repair focuses on mending past harms. It seeks reconciliation by acknowledging the harm caused, asking for forgiveness, and taking some direct action to mend or repair that harm. Examples of repair include reparations funds by educational institutions that were built and served by enslaved laborers. Also, the land justice movement, advocating for the return of stolen land to Native Americans and other indigenous peoples. To return once more to our fishing analogy, you could say that the repair tradition looks at the pond itself, asking, whose pond is it anyway? So those are the 4 traditions of philanthropy. Or is it 5? As a closing note, I just want to say this framework is not intended to be progressive. In other words, it's not intended to suggest that we move from relief to improvement, to reform, to engagement, to repair, and we abandon the other traditions as we go. Don't we need all of these traditions active in our world? And perhaps all these traditions are active in your own giving, or your group or organization in which you give. Can you find examples of them? Can you think and talk about what's called for now? And what feels most important? We hope that excites you into a conversation about the traditions of philanthropy. Thank you.